Barron Hotel, which has served as a gathering point for U.S. citizens. Now, we've yet to hear from President Biden or the White House directly. Joining us now, former military intelligence analyst Brett Velicovich, who served multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Brett, just your initial thoughts on what's happened this morning and what might be happening at this very moment.
Well, good afternoon, Charles. I mean, these are the very real and disastrous consequences for the way that this withdrawal was handled by the Biden administration. And now we're seeing it play out with these complex attacks in Kabul. And people think that this August 31st deadline will be the conclusion to all of this, that they're hoping that somehow they can just turn their backs on the region and it's all going to go away. And I'm here to tell you, it's just the beginning. Come August 31st, the country's going to descend further into chaos. This gets worse every single day. Every single day, our credibility and influence around the world is being diminished because of this. The elevated status of the Taliban around the world, they're being seen as this sort of gold standard now for terrorist groups. And you've got other groups that want to elevate their status as well. And that's why you're seeing these entities like ISIS-K who are coming in there and trying to find these targets of opportunity. And now you've got the Taliban who's been dictating the terms to the United States of America, and Biden is letting them get away with it. We look so weak right now in a region where strength in both words and fists is supreme. And I think this is going to reverberate for decades, and we're going to be measured on the world stage by how we respond.
Brett, the initial news was that it was a suicide bomber, but now, of course, the Pentagon saying it was a complex operation. You just echoed those same words. Explain why that's so important, that perhaps the airport itself is being circled by a variety of bad actors, that this wasn't just haphazard, that it was coordinated, that it was designed a certain way. 4 U.S. Marines are killed, at least 13 people, including a child. What's the difference here? I mean, do we need to understand in this country that we're dealing with a really serious foe, that this isn't just some haphazard, every now and then someone decides to strap on a bomb and do something dangerous like this?
Sure. Well, you got to understand that there's a lot of groups that have been waiting for years for this very moment. And one of those groups is ISIS-K, and this is the Khorasan group. It's a branch of the Islamic State. It used to be a bunch of Taliban fighters that essentially broke off, and they formed this new faction. They pledged their allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the former leader of ISIS, back in 2014. And they take a more hardline view than the Talibans. And in many ways, they consider the Talibans themselves as rivals. And so the Taliban doesn't have control over what these guys are doing in there. And they're looking for these opportunities to exploit this. They already conducted a number of devastating suicide attacks in Kabul since 2016. On top of that, a lot of their fighters were in prison for years now. And they were recently broken out as the Taliban took across the country, and they've gone back, assimilated into those ranks, and they're out for blood. And so you've got this multitude of terrorist organizations who are all trying to vie for power. They see this backlog in Kabul. They see this as an opportunity to prove that American forces no longer have the ability to protect U.S. citizens, to protect Afghans, and they thrive in this chaos and instability. So these suicide attacks that we saw today, these complex suicide attacks, we're going to see more of it. And it's just going to continue to play out across, not to mention, I mean, we've got state-of-the-art weapons and technology, and it's like a garage sale for this tech out there. So now they've got access to also weapons that have been left behind, which is incredibly dangerous as well.
Yeah. Brett, President Biden already saying that if anything like this were to happen, there would be a strong response. You just indicated that it better be strong to send the right message in a region where strength is revered. Any idea what might send the right message at this point?
I think that Biden needs to speak up a bit more. I mean, this operation has been botched from the get-go. I have absolutely no faith in the administration to be able to handle this humanitarian crisis. I'm hearing now that private citizens are having to charter their own aircraft and go overseas and rescue Americans, the stuff that they should be doing at the government level. I don't understand how it's not possible that they're not able to help out here. And I think Biden needs to speak up, and he needs to provide a message.
Brett, let me interrupt you. Brett, let me interrupt you for a moment. Brett, I got to interrupt you for a moment because we've got an update. So now it's 10 U.S. Marines are dead. That's the latest that we've gotten. So again, just speaking up, you just said these people don't really respect words. This is 10 U.S. Marines that are dead, Brett. What do we need to see from this administration? The sort of force, the power of the might of America, the determination of America, so that they take us seriously. You're right. This is an absolute unmitigated disaster out the gate. How do we try to turn this around?
It sickens me to hear about these casualties, but we are a superpower and we need to act like one. We need to start dropping bombs if we have to. We need to start putting bullets in foreheads, and we need to let the Taliban know that we're not here to mess around. And I unfortunately think that we're going to have to come back into this country and we're going to have to stomp some of these groups, and that's what's going to happen for years to come.
It's I filled in for Neil on Saturday, and I had the same discussion with many experts over and over again. The irony that we would have 6,000 troops when President Biden said the reason for the hasty retreat was so that we wouldn't have to send in more troops. And now it looks like we're going to probably really have to reconstitute some sort of real fighting force there. And this is even before the Taliban and all the other associated evil groups can get together and plot their terror against the rest of the world. 9/11's coming up. How important is it going to be for them to continue these sort of symbolic gestures, these evil, deadly gestures around the world to say, hey, we're back?
There's never going to be peace in Afghanistan. Any soldier that's been on the ground knows that. I think what we have to worry about is do these attacks translate, past the region, and that instability, does it translate into attacks on the West? And I think people will be debating that for months to come. And the fact is, Al Qaeda and Taliban, they have a relationship that dates back well before the war. These fighters fought together. I don't think they're going to turn their backs on Al Qaeda, and they're just going to build these organizations up again. And so, unfortunately, coming upon the September 11th anniversary, it's difficult for me to believe that this is all drawn to this conclusion and we can just walk away. It's just, we're going to see more attacks in the future, and right now we need to fight back.
It's amazing. Someone said, let's get them out so we can check a box and talk and score political points on 9/11. And now it's all turned upside down. Brett, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
So the